Lemuria Hub, the love child of Skipper Pavilion and a New York subway. Lemuria Hub is the newest and probably final map to grace the Splatlands, which we'll talk about in this episode of the Inkspedition. Lemuria Hub is a modern subway station right next to the tower where all of our stories in the Splatlands began. Unlike the other maps with horizontal symmetry, Lemuria Hub has lateral symmetry. This basically translates to everyone running to the bottom of the map while two players stay behind and shoot at each other from positions like this, trying to assert their dominance. On the back wall of the spawn areas and at some places in the background, you can see pictures of maps like Schellendorf Institute, Kelp Dome, and Arowana Mall. I hope that this is all these maps will be brought back as pictures. Throughout the stage, you can see many jellyfish carrying cute little suitcases, conversing with one another before their trip, and running around in the waiting area. Looks like somebody's been watching too much Naruto without daddy's permission. On the electronic billboards, you can see advertisements for several of the clothing brands such as Tony Kensa and Anarchy. There's even a business building for them all in the background. I love how the building and city on this side are just one 200-meter wide subway away from an apocalyptic looking desert. In the background, you can also see the subway lines. This one's super small, but no, please just keep moving. You don't need to see that map, and I don't want to see that map. Wasn't I just up there? I guess I was going to talk about the spawn area here. When spawning in, your team has plenty of space to branch out. You can go straight ahead and end up at the bottom of the map. You can hit this little sponge right here and end up in the middle of the map. You can even book it to the right and use a weapon like the Slosher or Splatana to bully people trying to drop down from the enemy spawn. Be definite in your approach because there are no paintable walls or sponges to help you get back to your spawn. For backliners, there's an abundance of positions where you can stand on this map. These blocks here are scattered all over and offer just enough cover for one player to hide behind. Plus, these moving platforms allow for scope charger players like me to move around without giving up my charge. Since this thing moves from the bottom of the map to the middle, it allows me to strike many positions where enemy players try to push in from. So for those of you who have the misfortune of running into me during a game, do not let me get to this platform or you will regret it. It feels fantastic not needing to constantly readjust the tools in my kit. Now my wall just moves with me, protecting me from foes that are after me and making my presence known to those that aren't. Or at least I thought that would be the case. You're more tunnel vision than me and I'm the scope player in this lobby. Aw, a desperate scramble to defend your super jumpers. It won't work, but that was adorable. Now this lovely platform moved me just far enough away from your big bad Kraken. You missed your last charge attack, and now you get to look like a ditz right alongside them. You may have gotten me off that thing, but I assure you that there's still plenty that I can do. I can splat you with the greatest of ease and distract you while my team snatches the game from underneath your nose. It's nice that I have these blocks for these more frisky foes. Booyah bombs are being thrown and this fellow doesn't even notice. Whatever, that's your loss. Maybe I could have one of these jellyfish give the boss a note from me revealing who he is.
Travis.
Or I could put a message on one of these screens in a language Alpha doesn't know, but the boss does.
Travis.
Or screw it, I can just scream it from the top of my lungs so he and everybody around here hears it. There's no way Alpha can control that many people.
Travis!
What? You think I'll just look crazy doing that?
No, I don't want you to think you have any plans at all. At this point, all it'll do is make things worse.
So you mean to tell me that after all the months that we were gathering evidence for your theory and being a coward's leap away from telling the boss the truth about his puppeteer life, that you're willing to abandon it all?
It's not that I want to, but there isn't any better option. Because that day you ended up being poisoned by Alpha with something I can't even understand, let alone diagnose and cure. The worst of it hits you when you go against Alpha's orders, but even after it settles down, some effects still linger. In addition to that, I'm pretty sure the boss's nagging coughs are connected to our investigations too. They only started after Alpha began to get an insight into our plans. You two's inconsistent health is what took us so long to make another one of these. If we push any farther, then I risk losing everyone that I claim to be doing this for. Billy, the boss, and you. Those two may not have families, but how am I gonna tell yours if something happens to you one of these days?
Well, it sucks that our only other choice is letting Alpha run everything into the ground anyway. I'm no expert in omnipresent abilities, but I know it takes energy to constantly have eyes and ears everywhere, especially when you're feeling guilty of something too. That deterioration of physical and mental state is bound to break anybody eventually, and I feel like something real bad is going to happen when he does break. Below the moving platform, there is a pit that connects the two sides. This part of the map definitely shows that the reef's genetics are still going strong. Once you do make it to the other side, there are multiple places where you can can shark and splat anyone who gets too close. Just be careful though, because while you're in this pit, you can be flanked from all sides by the enemy team. If you go into the middle of the map and meet up with a fully charged splatling, you can make a hard right turn and go to this point on the map. There's nothing back here to shield you other than a pole, because of course there is, but this area can give you some time to plan your next move while in your enemy's blind spot. Travis went to Lemuria to see just how useful these positions on the map can be. I think people are just being too harsh on this part of the map. How bad could it be? We're about to find out. Now let me use my big bubbler and... These things break it? I'll just stay down here. At least here, the only thing that can break my big bubbler is the enemy team. And right now, they ain't nearly as good at it. When you do control this area, there's nothing the enemy can do. You can try to get in this thing with the grace of a butterfly lemon, but you're still gonna be looking like some freshly squeezed lemonade by the time you get out.
So what did you think about Kane's recent appearance in the Splatland?
I have nothing against him. If he's as good as the boss claims, then I'd love to get to know him better. However, what irritates me is that name. I know that name was given to him as a duct tape together response to everything we did to help discover the boss's identity. It just covers up the core problem here.
At this point, he's just trapped in a web of lies, and the only way he knows how to get out is to lie some more. That makes me wonder what kind of special quirks Kane has, though. We know the boss has heightened logistical skills, and from my little spat with Alpha, Billy might have heightened emotional perception, but I'm not so sure about Kane. Billy did mention Kane has a lot of determination, though, so maybe that means he has something like heightened endurance.
Well, there is some curiosity left in you. I grew worried that crazy theorist in you died on me. That part of you inspired me a ton, as you can probably tell from how I've been acting these past few months. We can ask the boss more about Kane later, since he was his student. I hope Alpha's not so paranoid that he'll get me for that too. In the ranked modes, Lemuria is quite interesting. In Splat zones, the Reef vibes are turned up to 11, with the 2 zones being right below the moving platform at the bottom of the map.
Not the whole Booyah Bomb! Gosh, this really is the Reef 2.0, down to the Hydra camp in the area above the zone and everything!
In tower control, your gate kept from taking the short path until the other team spawn again, so that makes things incredibly narrow and defender favored.
Yeah, I don't have time to deal with this today. You know this part of the map is as tight as some dryer shrunken skinny jeans when you need 2 invincible Krakens to get through.
In Rainmaker, the map seems fine up until a certain point.
Alright, comrades, it took all of my resources, but I cleared the path. Yes, you buffoons fell for it! Now watch as we get 30 points in the blink of an eye! If we can get back there in time.
And in Clam Blitz, you have plenty of space to collect clams, but only a good 12 feet of space to make a push toward the enemy basket. Please just build up your specials when making a push. And if your special is a stationary one, please don't leave it on the track that the moving platforms travel across.
I'm not having this thing break on me again, so I'll just set it up right here. Now we only got this little corner, so y'all better get over here faster than a barefoot jackrabbit on a hot greasy griddle in the middle of August with us.
Overall, Lemuria Hub is a decent and unique final map for us to receive in the Splatlands, especially when compared to some of the other stuff that we've had to play on up until this point. If they just make a few more walls paintable and find a way around this, albeit hilarious, Rainmaker cheese, then that can make the map shine even more. I've been your host, and you've watched the Inkspedition.
First Inkspedition of the year recorded. I'm glad you two were finally in good enough health to be able to film one.
It's impossible to keep me out of the spotlight forever, and with this one done, we've covered about 33% of the maps in the past 16 months. That's still better than we ever did when maps like Muscle Forge and the Reef were around. Yes, sir. Thanks in part to our masked maestro.
I just do the best that I can to keep us on a stable schedule.
And believe you me, it does wonders for us all. Between us and the Splatlock, the folks will have plenty to watch this summer. Oh, and speaking of the Splatlock boss, how was Kane as a student? Was he a fast learner like you? No, not really. In terms of learning speed, he was about the same as the twerp. They're horrendously slow compared to me, but only marginally slower than the average person. What made them different was their resolve. Splatlock would practice the things I told him for hours or days straight until he finally got it right. Wow, that must have tired him out. That's the peculiar thing. It didn't. There was one time when he practiced using the jet squelcher for 7 hours straight against me. The only thing that stopped him was me being about 12 seconds from collapsing on the floor. He, on the other hand, looked like he could have gone another 7 hours without hesitation if you asked him to. But that training paid off, and the jet squelcher became one of his best weapons. Wow, that's interesting. Well, we aren't gonna pry anymore into how y'all spent your time, don't worry. But I wanted to ask, what did you think of his name? You were awfully quiet when we were talking with him and the others on Eeltail. I'm indifferent. His name is his business, not mine. My business is worrying about the Inkspedition. Speaking of, I know exactly where we need to go next.
Where's that?
Bluefin Depot! You guys still need to tell me the juicy things you found on that map. I probably already figured them out, knowing me, but I may not have. Then we can share those amazing details with our audience.
Oh, are you sure?
Sure, I'm sure.
Then I can, try to book that place for us to explore soon, I guess. And the sooner we finish it, the better.